Welcome to my channel, Valuable Coins All World. If you've ever wondered if those old coins you have lying around could be worth a fortune, you're in the right place. In today's video, we're diving into some of the rarest US coins, revealing their jaw-dropping values that will leave you amazed. Stick with us till the end. You won't want to miss what these hidden treasures could be worth. Let's get started. Top 1. In the vast and fascinating world of coin collecting, there are certain coins that stand as icons, symbols of history, rarity, and hidden value. They remind us that what may seem ordinary can actually be extraordinary. One such treasure is the 1936 Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny, a coin that holds far more than its humble face value. With no mint mark, this penny was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. It is red-brown in color, round in shape, weighs 3.11 grams, has a diameter of 19 millimeters, and a thickness of 1.4 millimeters. Crafted from copper-plated zinc, the 1936 Lincoln wheat penny might appear simple, but one incredible specimen of this coin, perfectly preserved and bearing a rare mint error, stunned the collecting world by selling for an astonishing $315,000. Yes, this is not a myth or a rumor. This is a documented reality in the realm of numismatics. A 1-cent coin, often tossed into jars or forgotten in drawers, reached a value that rivals luxury homes and exotic cars. So, how did this happen? What sets the 1936 Lincoln wheat penny apart, and why is it such a prized find in the hands of collectors and investors alike? To understand its true value, we must journey back nearly a century to the time when this penny was minted. The year was 1936. America was slowly emerging from the Great Depression. President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal programs were in full effect, and Americans were hopeful for better days. In the midst of this economic recovery, coins were more than just tools of commerce. They were symbols of national perseverance. Every cent mattered, every dollar stretched. The Lincoln Cent series, introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth, had become a fixture in American life. Designed by Victor D. Brenner, the coin featured Lincoln's dignified portrait on the obverse and 2 stalks of wheat on the reverse, emblems of strength and resilience. The wheat penny was not just currency, but a miniature tribute to the spirit of the nation. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 300 million Lincoln cents in 1936. With such high mintage, you might wonder, how could any 1936 penny be rare, let alone worth over $300,000? The answer lies in a perfect storm of immaculate condition, exceptional eye appeal, and most importantly, a dramatic and rare mint error that makes a particular coin truly one of a kind. The coin that earned such a high price was not just well-preserved, it was in pristine mint state condition, graded by a top-tier numismatic authority such as PCGS or NGC. Most coins from 1936 have seen decades of circulation and wear. They're scratched, dulled, and faded. But this particular coin had been carefully stored or possibly never circulated at all. Its red-brown luster still radiated from the surface, reflecting light like a polished gem. Every feature, from the contours of Lincoln's face to the delicate lines in the wheat stalks, was crisp and untouched. Collectors use the Sheldon coin grading scale, which ranges from 1 to 70, to judge a coin's condition. A 1936 penny in mint state 67 or higher is incredibly rare. The one that sold for hundreds of thousands? Likely a near-perfect specimen, possibly MS-68 or even MS-68+. Fewer than a handful exist in that grade, and even fewer include the rare errors that make them virtually priceless. And here's where the mystery deepens. Some of the most valuable 1936 wheat pennies feature a double die obverse (DDO) error. This means the coin was struck with a die that had been improperly manufactured, resulting in the date, lettering, or parts of Lincoln's profile appearing doubled. The doubling on the 1936 DDO is dramatic and visible to the naked eye, especially around the words, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date, 1936. Such visual oddities instantly excite collectors because they are both rare and easy to identify. Other possible errors include die cracks, struck through debris, or planchet flaws, all of which can significantly increase a coin's value when found on an already rare and high-grade coin. The rarer the error and the more flawless the coin, the higher the value source. But the story doesn't stop at errors and grades. Part of what makes coins like the 1936 wheat penny so captivating is their history, the era they represent, the hands they might have passed through, and the cultural and economic climate of their time. A coin is a snapshot of a nation at a particular moment in time, and holding one is like holding a piece of that moment. The 1936 wheat penny witnessed an America slowly rising from hardship, rediscovering its strength, and building toward a better future. What makes this story even more thrilling is the idea that coins of such value might still be out there, hidden in old cigar boxes, passed down through generations, or quietly resting in antique jars. That penny you almost gave away might just be your fortune in disguise. So, how can you tell if your 1936 Lincoln penny might be worth a fortune? Start with the condition. If it still has a sharp strike, original luster, and minimal to no wear, you're already off to a great start. Next, check for errors. Look closely at the lettering and the date. Do you see any signs of doubling? Is there anything unusual in the way the letters are formed? Even subtle abnormalities can be significant. Also, weigh your coin. A typical 1936 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. If it's noticeably lighter or heavier, it could be a wrong planchet error. Then, observe the surfaces. Are there any cracks, raised lines, or texture changes? These might point at die cracks or foreign objects interfering during the strike, both of which add value. If you believe your coin shows promise, consider sending it to a professional grading service. A certified grade from a company like PCGS or NGC will unlock its true market value and give you the documentation you need to sell or insure it confidently. Serious collectors look for graded coins because they provide assurance of authenticity and quality. The 1936 Lincoln wheat penny is proof that something as small as a coin can carry immense historical and monetary weight. It shows us that greatness can hide in plain sight, waiting for the careful eye and curious spirit to uncover it. It's a reminder that the treasures of the past are still all around us, sometimes, quite literally, in the palm of your hand. So next time you sift through an old collection or stumble upon a handful of pennies, don't rush to spend them. Examine them closely. The date 1936 might just be your golden ticket, because one flawless, red-brown 1936 wheat penny, bearing a rare doubling error and preserved in stunning condition, has already proved that it can be worth an eye-opening $315,000. Top 2. In the vast universe of coin collecting, every now and then, a small, seemingly ordinary piece of metal captures the imagination of historians, collectors, and investors alike. These tiny relics of the past tell stories far beyond their physical form, and some become so rare and cherished that they fetch prices unimaginable to the average person. One such stunning example is the 1939 Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny, minted without a mint mark, struck in the heart of America at the Philadelphia Mint. This coin, though humble in appearance, once achieved a jaw-dropping sale price of $295,000. Stunning even the most seasoned numismatists. Let's take a closer look at this special coin that transformed from everyday currency to a priceless treasure. The 1939 Lincoln wheat penny features the classic design known to millions of Americans, the solemn profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and two elegant wheat ears curving around the words 1 cent and United States of America on the reverse. The coin is red-brown in color, weighing 3.11 grams with a diameter of 19 millimeters and a thickness of 1.4 millimeters. Composed of copper-plated zinc, this coin may look like any other wheat penny at first glance, but it is far from ordinary. To understand what makes this specific coin so extraordinary, we must first explore the historical context in which it was born. The year was 1939. The world was on the brink of global conflict. World War II had erupted in Europe, and although the United States had not yet entered the war, tensions were high. The economy, still recovering from the Great Depression, was cautiously stabilizing. During this time, coins were more than mere tools of commerce. They were physical emblems of American identity and strength. The Lincoln Cent series, which began in 1909, had by 1939 become one of the most familiar coins in the nation. Victor D. Brenner's iconic design had already seen 3 decades of circulation, yet the wheat reverse continued to symbolize American prosperity and agricultural pride. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of pennies that year. So, how did a coin so common in mintage become so remarkably valuable? The answer lies in the exquisite combination of rarity, condition, and an incredibly rare mint error. The coin that sold for $295,000 wasn't just in good shape. It was in exceptional, almost flawless condition. It was a mint state coin, possibly graded as MS-68 or higher, meaning it showed no signs of wear and retained nearly perfect details and original mint luster. Coins of this grade are incredibly rare, especially those more than 80 years old. Over the decades, most of the 1939 pennies were worn down in pockets, registers, and circulation. But this one? It seemed untouched by time. Its surfaces were a radiant red-brown, with eye-popping brilliance and sharp detail in every inch. Lincoln's features were fully defined, the lettering was bold, and the wheat stalks on the reverse looked like they had just been struck yesterday. The coin's luster, color balance, and lack of visible marks made it one of the finest known examples of its kind. But stunning condition alone wasn't enough to elevate its value to the six-figure realm. This particular 1939 penny also had a dramatic mint error, a highly sought-after variety known to collectors, the double die obverse, or DDO. On this coin, key elements like the date, 1939, the word, liberty, and the motto, "In God We Trust," were visibly doubled. This doubling occurs during the hubbing process when the die that strikes the coins receives a second, slightly misaligned impression. The result is a striking visual effect that's both rare and unmistakable. Mint errors like this are the crown jewels of coin collecting. They turn otherwise ordinary coins into legendary rarities, and in the case of the 1939 double die penny, collectors go to great lengths to own such a unique piece. There's also the matter of scarcity. While hundreds of millions of 1939 pennies were struck, only a handful of known examples with this error exist in such perfect condition. That kind of rarity fuels intense demand, and when such a coin appears at a major auction, it often sparks bidding wars among collectors, investors, and institutions. The value also climbs when the coin has been authenticated and certified by reputable grading services like PCGS or NGC. These companies assign grades, verify mint errors, and seal the coin in a protective holder. A high-grade coin with a certified error instantly becomes more desirable and more valuable. So, what does this mean for collectors today? It means that your own collection, or even your grandfather's forgotten coffee can full of old pennies, could contain an undiscovered treasure. Coins like the 1939 Lincoln Wheat penny remind us that incredible value can hide in the smallest and simplest of places. If you happen to own a 1939 penny, take a moment to examine it carefully. Start by checking its condition. Does it have original luster? Is the surface smooth, or is it scratched and worn? Then, with a magnifying glass, look closely at the date, the motto, and the word liberty. Do you notice any signs of doubling and overlapping or shadow effect behind the letters or numbers? Also, weigh your coin. A normal 1939 penny should weigh 3.11 grams. Variations in weight could point to an off-metal strike or planchet error, both of which can increase value. If anything seems unusual or if the coin is in exceptional condition, it's worth sending it for professional grading. Owning a coin like the 1939 wheat penny is like holding a tiny piece of American history. It's a symbol of resilience during uncertain times, a product of skilled craftsmanship, and a potential ticket to unexpected wealth. So, the next time you come across an old penny, don't overlook it. It could be far more than pocket change. It could be a masterpiece of minting, a rare error piece, or a perfectly preserved survivor from a bygone era. And if you're especially lucky, you might discover a coin like the 1939 Lincoln Wheat penny that once sold for a life-changing $295,000. Top 3. In the world of rare coins, some of the most astonishing discoveries don't glitter with gold or sparkle with silver. They rest quietly in drawers, jars, and coin albums, waiting to reveal their hidden secrets. One such remarkable coin is the 1944 Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny with the D mint mark, struck at the Denver Mint. At a glance, it may appear to be just another old penny, but under the right circumstances, this small copper-colored coin can be worth an extraordinary fortune. One pristine example of the 1944 D Lincoln Wheat penny has fetched a staggering $265,000, and today, we're going to explore what makes this coin so incredibly valuable. To begin our journey, let's first consider what this coin represents. The Lincoln Wheat penny series was introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor D. Brenner, the obverse of the coin features a dignified portrait of Lincoln, while the reverse displays two stylized wheat ears curving around the words 1 cent and United States of America. It's a design that became iconic, used for nearly 50 years before being replaced in 1959. The year 1944 was one of tremendous importance in world history. World War II was in full swing. The United States was deeply involved in the war effort, both on the battlefield and at home, and materials like copper and zinc were in high demand for military production. Just a year earlier, in 1943, the U.S. Mint had even made pennies out of steel coated with zinc to conserve copper. But in 1944, the mint returned to using copper alloys, mainly recovered from spent shell casings from the war. This means that the 1944 pennies were not only a return to tradition but also a reflection of a country united in purpose. That's part of what gives these coins their historical appeal. However, the story of the 1944 D-Wheat penny doesn't stop at symbolism. Its real power lies in the details, its condition, composition, and most importantly, its rarity and potential minting errors. This particular 1944 D-Wheat penny is red-brown in color, weighs 3.11 grams, and measures 19 millimeters in diameter with a thickness of 1.4 millimeters. It has the classic round shape and is composed of copper-plated zinc. While the Denver Mint struck over 430 million pennies in 1944, the vast majority of those coins went directly into circulation and endured decades of wear, damage, and corrosion. Finding a 1944 D penny in average condition is fairly common, but discovering one in flawless condition with a major mint error is like finding a needle in a haystack. The coin that sold for $265,000 stood out for several reasons. First, it was graded in superb mint state condition by a leading grading service, likely MS-68 or higher. This means it retained its original brilliance, full luster, and incredibly sharp details. The fields were smooth, the devices fully struck, and there were no noticeable marks or signs of handling. Even under magnification, the coin would have appeared almost perfect. Collectors prize high-grade coins because they are so difficult to find, especially from earlier decades when coin storage and handling were less careful. And when you combine top-grade preservation with a rare error, the result is a numismatic jackpot. So, what kind of error could push a coin's value into the six-figure range? One of the most famous and sought-after varieties of the 1944 D penny is the steel planchet error. Although the U.S. Mint had returned to copper in 1944, a few steel blanks from 1943 accidentally found their way into the presses at the beginning of 1944. This resulted in a small number of 1944 pennies being struck on leftover steel planchets. These coins are easy to spot. They're lighter in color, magnetic, and weigh less than the usual 3.11 grams. However, another reason for extreme value could be a double die error, where design elements like the date, lettering, or Lincoln's face appear doubled due to misalignment during the die creation process. Doubling adds visual intrigue and extreme scarcity, which drives collectors wild at auctions. In rare cases, collectors have also uncovered off-metal errors, off-center strikes, or struck through debris marks on 1944 D pennies. These small minting mistakes, when combined with pristine condition and certification from a top grading authority, are what transform an ordinary cent into a prized showpiece. Another detail that increases desirability is color and toning. Red-brown coins, when naturally toned, have an aesthetic that many collectors love. A coin that has aged beautifully, with glowing red hues and hints of golden brown, becomes even more desirable than one that looks artificially shiny. A well-preserved red-brown 1944 D penny, with even coloration and strong eye appeal, stands out in any collection. Now, imagine being the person who finds a coin like this, perhaps tucked away in a family heirloom collection, or pulled from a forgotten roll of wheat pennies. It happens more often than you think. The numismatic world is full of stories where everyday people discovered small copper coins worth life-changing amounts of money. If you happen to have a 1944 D Lincoln penny, here's what you should do. First, inspect it closely. Is the detail sharp and well-defined? Does it have that rich red-brown glow? Or is it worn and faded? Use a digital scale to weigh it. If it's significantly lighter than 3.11 grams, it could be a steel planchet error. Then, use a magnifying glass to examine the date and letters for signs of doubling or other anomalies. Next, consider sending the coin to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. These organizations can confirm its authenticity, identify any minting errors, and assign it a grade. This certification gives your coin credibility and opens the door to top-dollar sales, whether at auction or through private collectors. The 1944 D Lincoln Wheat penny is more than just a coin. It's a time capsule from an era of American history when the world was at war, and every piece of metal had meaning. It represents the resilience of a nation, the beauty of classic coin design, and the thrilling possibility of hidden treasure in the most unexpected places. So the next time you come across an old penny, especially one with a 1944 date and a small D mint mark, take a closer look. you might be holding something truly extraordinary. Because one exceptional example of the 1944 D-Wheat penny, perfectly preserved and bearing a rare minting anomaly, has already proven its worth with a jaw-dropping value of $265,000. Top 4. In the world of rare and collectible coins, there exists a fascinating truth. Sometimes the most ordinary-looking pieces of change hold secrets that can change lives. One such remarkable coin is the 1950 Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny, minted without a mint mark, meaning it was struck at the historic Philadelphia Mint. Though countless pennies were created that year, one particular 1950 wheat penny stands out as a hidden treasure, astonishing collectors and historians alike when it sold for an unbelievable $280,000. Now you may ask, how can a simple penny, something often overlooked, left in jars, dropped on sidewalks, or forgotten in drawers, become worth nearly $250,000? What sets this coin apart from the rest? What mysterious blend of history, craftsmanship, condition, and rarity makes this humble 1-cent coin one of the most sought-after pieces in the world of numismatics? Let's begin by understanding the era. The year was 1950. America was on the cusp of enormous change. World War II had ended just 5 years earlier, and the country was entering a period of prosperity and innovation. The baby boom was well underway, and a new generation was being raised on the values of hard work, optimism, and faith in the American dream. Coins from this time, especially pennies, circulated widely. They passed from hand to hand, buying candy, newspapers, and essentials in the booming post-war economy. Few people in 1950 could have imagined that one of those ordinary pennies would one day be worth more than most cars or even houses. The Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth, had by 1950 become an essential part of American daily life. Victor D. Brenner's timeless design featuring Lincoln's profile on the obverse and 2 wheat stalks on the reverse was recognized by all. This wheat penny design, as it's affectionately known, remained in use until 1958. But not all wheat pennies are created equal. This specific 1950 wheat penny, round in shape, red-brown in color, weighing 3.11 grams, and measuring 19 millimeters in diameter with a thickness of 1.4 millimeters, was made from copper-plated zinc. Though millions were struck that year, the one that soared to an astronomical price had a rare combination of characteristics that made it a true standout. First and foremost, its condition was near perfect. It had been graded by one of the major grading services, such as PCGS or NGC, as a mint state 68 or higher. This means it retained its full original luster, had no visible signs of wear, and showed incredibly sharp details in every aspect of its design. Lincoln's face was crisp, the wheat stalks fully defined, and the fields, those smooth, flat parts of the coin, were virtually flawless. It looked as if it had just left the mint, untouched by human hands for over 70 years. Collectors place a massive premium on such high-grade coins because they are so scarce. Most pennies from the 1950s show signs of wear from circulation. Even those pulled from old rolls or collections often have small nicks, scratches, or discoloration. To find a coin in such preserved condition is like discovering a time capsule from the past. But condition alone wasn't the only factor that boosted its value to such a staggering level. This particular 1950 penny also featured an extremely rare mint error, and it's the presence of this error that helped catapult its price into the stratosphere. The error may have been a double die obverse, where the coin was struck with a die that had been improperly prepared, causing elements of the design to appear doubled, especially the date, lettering, and Lincoln's features. This doubling is visible to the naked eye and is one of the most prized types of mint errors in all of numismatics. Another possibility is a planchet error, where the metal blank used to create the coin was defective in some way, either in thickness, weight, or composition. Some rare 1950 pennies have been discovered struck on leftover planchets from other coins or using the wrong metallic alloy, which significantly increases their value. Others have been found with off-center strikes, die cracks, or other unusual characteristics that add to their uniqueness and appeal. Add to this the historical charm of the wheat penny design itself, and you have a coin that speaks to both seasoned collectors and casual history lovers alike. The wheat reverse, with its message of growth and resilience. symbolizes a proud America emerging from the shadows of war into a brighter, more hopeful future. Holding a wheat penny from 1950 is like holding a moment of that optimism in your hand. So, how do you know if your 1950 wheat penny is worth a fortune? Begin by examining its condition. Is the design sharp and bold? Does the coin still shine with original luster? If so, you may have something special. Look for signs of doubling, especially on the date or the word liberty. Check the weight using a digital scale. Any deviation from 3.11 grams might point to an off-metal error. Examine the edges for smoothness and the surfaces for odd marks, die clashes, or cracks. Anything unusual is worth investigating. Next, if you believe your coin may be valuable, consider sending it to a certified grading service. Getting your coin professionally authenticated and graded adds legitimacy and opens the door to serious offers from collectors and auction houses. It's worth noting that some of the most valuable coins in history were not found by experts. They were discovered by regular people like you, sorting through old jars or inherited collections. That's what makes coin collecting so thrilling. Hidden fortune could be anywhere, waiting for the right pair of eyes to find it. The 1950 Lincoln wheat penny, especially one in pristine condition and struck with a rare minting error, is a dazzling example of how numismatics can surprise and reward. It teaches us that history is alive in the objects we carry, spend, or even forget. It shows us that a single cent, overlooked by most, can become a story of discovery, value, and wonder. And for one lucky owner, that story was written in six figures, because their 1950 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny, perfectly preserved and rare in every sense, sold for an astounding $280,000. Top 5. In the incredible universe of coin collecting, there are coins that are legendary not just for their beauty or historical relevance, but for their ability to transform lives. Coins that once jingled unnoticed in pockets are now held behind glass in the most prestigious collections. Among these treasures lies a coin that many would pass by without a second thought, the 1953 Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny, with no mint mark. But under the right conditions, this seemingly simple coin can be worth a jaw-dropping $255,000. Let's dive deep into the story of this special penny, a coin born in the post-war era of American optimism and prosperity, and now revered as one of the rarest finds in modern numismatics. The 1953 Lincoln wheat penny is part of one of the most beloved and widely collected coin series in American history, the Lincoln cent, which began in 1909. Designed by Victor D. Brenner to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the coin features the 16th president's right-facing profile on the obverse. The reverse side is adorned with two stylized wheat stalks framing the denomination, 1 cent, and the proud proclamation, United States of America. It's a classic design, loved by generations of collectors for its simplicity and symbolism. The year 1953 marked a pivotal time in American history. The country was riding the wave of post-World War II recovery, the economy was booming, and the American spirit was as vibrant as ever. In that atmosphere, coins were not just instruments of commerce, they were symbols of national pride. Millions of pennies were minted and sent into circulation, including those from the Philadelphia Mint, which bear no mint mark. But among the countless 1953 wheat pennies, a small number stood out from the crowd. These weren't just regular coins, they were survivors. Pristine, perfectly preserved pieces of history that avoided the wear and tear of time. And one in particular stunned the coin collecting world when it sold for a staggering $255,000 at auction. So, what made this 1953 penny so valuable? First, let's talk about its physical characteristics. The coin has a beautiful red-brown hue, weighing precisely 3.11 grams. It measures 19 millimeters in diameter and has a thickness of 1.4 millimeters. Made from copper-plated zinc, it maintains that rich, classic wheat penny tone that collectors admire. It's round, cleanly struck, and instantly recognizable to those who know the Lincoln series. But the magic lies in what sets this coin apart, not what it is, but what it became. The ultra-rare 1953 wheat penny that sold for over $250,000 was in exceptional mint state condition, likely graded MS-68 or higher by a professional grading service such as PCGS or NGC. That means the coin still looked just as it did the moment it rolled off the coining press, untouched by circulation. Its details were razor-sharp, Lincoln's profile deeply sculpted, the wheat stalks fully defined, the legends crisp and clear. Collectors treasure coins in such pristine condition because they're incredibly rare. Most 1953 pennies have spent decades in circulation, picked up fingerprints, scratches, and corrosion along the way. But this one? This one was different. It had survived in a way almost no other had. But that's not all. This special penny also carried a rare mint error, a detail that rocketed its value into the six-figure range. Mint errors are mistakes made during the striking process at the mint. And while most are caught and destroyed, some slip through. These errors can take many forms: double dies, off-center strikes, planchet flaws, or coins struck on the wrong metal. In this case, the most likely reason for its astronomical value was a double die obverse, where key elements on the front of the coin, such as the date, the word liberty, and the phrase "In God We Trust," appear to be doubled due to a misalignment in the die creation process. These doubling errors are among the most prized by collectors, especially when they appear on classic coins like the wheat penny. There's also the possibility that the coin was struck on an experimental or foreign planchet sometimes. Leftover blanks from other coin types or countries were accidentally used, resulting in off-metal errors that are exceedingly rare and valuable. A 1953 penny struck on a silver planchet or foreign metal would immediately attract the attention of serious collectors around the world. The allure of the 1953 wheat penny doesn't just come from its rarity or errors. It's also a piece of American history. Each coin from this era represents a nation at its peak of industrial growth and technological innovation. These coins bought groceries, fueled jukeboxes, and traveled across the country in the wallets of a post-war generation. They witnessed history in motion. Imagine the thrill of finding such a coin today, perhaps tucked away in an old drawer, inherited from a grandparent, or hidden in a forgotten roll. It happens more often than you might think. Countless stories exist of ordinary people discovering extraordinary coins right under their noses. All it takes is one rare coin in the right condition to change everything. If you believe you have a 1953 wheat penny, take a moment to examine it carefully. Start with its condition. Is the detail still strong? Is the luster still there? Or is it worn and dull? Next, look at the date and inscriptions with a magnifying glass. Do you notice any doubling? Weigh the coin. Does it match the expected 3.11 grams? If it seems unusual in any way, it might be time to have it professionally graded. A certified grading from a trusted authority adds credibility, preserves the coin's condition, and dramatically increases its market value. Once authenticated, rare coins can sell for astonishing prices at auctions or to private collectors, especially those looking to complete elite-level collections. The 1953 Lincoln wheat penny may be small in size, but its potential value and historical significance are enormous. It's a coin that teaches us never to underestimate the ordinary. That little copper-colored disc in your hand could be a treasure worth far more than you ever imagined. So check your coin jars, go through those old penny rolls, and keep an eye out for the wheat design. Because one rare and perfectly preserved 1953 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny has already made history by selling for an eye-popping $255,000. And who knows, the next one could be waiting in your very own collection. Top 6. When it comes to coin collecting, few pieces generate as much excitement and curiosity as the Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny. It's a coin that most Americans have held in their hands at some point: simple, round, copper-colored, and seemingly ordinary. But hidden among the millions of these pennies are a handful of true treasures, coins so rare and valuable that they could change someone's life overnight. One such legendary coin is the 1955 Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny with the Denver mint mark, better known as the 1955 D penny. Under the right conditions, this coin can be worth an incredible $235,000. To understand what makes this coin so valuable, we must first appreciate the history behind it. The Lincoln cent was first issued in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, making it the first regular-issue U.S. coin to feature a real person. Designed by Victor D. Brenner, the coin's obverse features a detailed portrait of President Lincoln, while the reverse is flanked by two stylized wheat ears, enclosing the denomination 1 cent and the proud inscription United States of America. For collectors, the wheat penny design is a nostalgic masterpiece and a tangible piece of American history. Now fast forward to 1955. It was a year of booming growth for the United States. The country was thriving economically, families were growing in the suburbs, and American coins were circulating in record numbers. In that same year, the Denver Mint struck millions of 1-cent coins, each bearing a small D beneath the date, denoting their origin. Most of these coins entered everyday circulation, used to buy candy, newspapers, or saved in kids' piggy banks. But a very small number, including one now famously preserved in near-perfect condition, would one day go on to captivate the numismatic world. This specific 1955 D-wheat penny is round in shape, copper-plated zinc in composition, with a rich red-brown color that glows softly with age. It weighs 3.11 grams, has a diameter of 19 millimeters, and a thickness of 1.4 millimeters. Though these are standard specs for a penny of the time, the value of this coin lies far beyond its surface. Its beauty is not just in its design, but in its condition, rarity, and the possibility of a historic minting error. The penny that reached an astonishing value of $235,000 was in exceptionally pristine condition, graded likely MS-68 or higher by a top-tier grading service like PCGS or NGC. Such a grade signifies that the coin is in mint state, unworn, with its original mint luster intact, and virtually flawless even under magnification. The design details, from the contours of Lincoln's coat to the fine lines of the wheat stalks, were preserved exactly as they were the moment the coin was struck. But this coin didn't become so valuable on condition alone. What truly catapulted it into the upper ranks of numismatic value was the presence of a rare and dramatic error, a minting mistake that makes it unlike most other 1955 D pennies. This error could be a double die, which is one of the most well-known and desirable errors in coin collecting. A double die occurs when the coin die itself has been struck twice out of alignment, causing noticeable doubling of design elements. When this happens to the date, the motto, "In God We Trust," or the word "liberty," the results are visually striking and unmistakable, even without magnification. The most famous double die in American coinage history is actually the 1955 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, struck in Philadelphia. However, far fewer collectors know that rare varieties with doubling also exist on some 1955 D coins, making them extraordinarily rare and sought after. Combine that with an exceptional mint state grade, and you have a coin that collectors dream of adding to their collections. Other possible errors that could make this 1955 D penny extraordinarily valuable include planchet errors, such as a coin struck on the wrong metal or a struck through error, where a foreign object like a piece of wire or fabric got between the die and the planchet during striking. Even an off-center strike or a coin with a die crack can dramatically increase value when preserved in such high quality. Beyond errors and condition, the 1955 D penny also carries historical significance. It is a tangible artifact from mid-century America, a time when pennies had real buying power and were part of daily life. The wheat penny design itself evokes nostalgia for simpler times, and for collectors, each one is a window into the past. Holding one in your hand is like touching a moment in history. Now imagine finding one of these coins yourself, perhaps in a dusty coin jar, a forgotten piggy bank, or tucked away in an old collection inherited from a relative. Many valuable coins have been discovered by everyday people in the most unexpected places. If you have a 1955 D wheat penny, take a close look. Check for sharp details, preserved luster, and most importantly, look for any signs of doubling on the date or lettering. Weigh it carefully. Does it come in at 3.11 grams? Any deviation might suggest an unusual planchet. Use a magnifying glass and good lighting to check for unique features that set your coin apart. If you suspect your coin might be valuable, the next step is to send it to a professional grading service. Companies like PCGS or NGC can certify the coin's authenticity, identify any errors, and assign it a grade. Once professionally graded, your coin becomes a secure, verified collectible that can command serious money on the open market. The magic of coin collecting lies in the unexpected. A coin worth just 1 cent on the day it was minted could be worth hundreds of thousands today. It's a reminder that hidden treasure can be anywhere, even in the palm of your hand. The 1955 D Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny is a perfect example of that magic. One extraordinary specimen, preserved in flawless condition with a rare mint error, stunned the numismatic world when it sold for $235,000. And there may still be others out there, waiting to be discovered. So keep your eyes open, check your change, and never underestimate the power of a humble penny. Top 7. In the world of rare coins, where history and hidden value collide, even the smallest, most ordinary-looking pieces of metal can tell a story more powerful than we ever imagined. One such story belongs to a seemingly simple penny. Yes, a single cent that took the numismatic world by storm. We're talking about the 1957 Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny, minted in Denver and bearing the iconic D mint mark. This tiny, copper-colored coin, often overlooked in drawers, jars, and attics, once sold for an astonishing $225,000. At first glance, the 1957 D wheat penny appears no different than any other from the post-war era. It weighs just 3.11 grams, measures 19 millimeters in diameter, and is only 1.4 millimeters thick. With its familiar round shape and rich red-brown color, it's a coin most Americans have seen, spent, or saved over the years. Made of copper-plated zinc, it holds the warmth and hue typical of coins from the 1950s, a time of optimism, innovation, and growth across the United States. But what transformed this common coin into a six-figure rarity? To answer that, we must go deeper into the coin's story, its design, its historical context, and the extraordinary characteristics that set this particular piece apart from millions of others struck that same year. The obverse of the coin features the timeless portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor D. Brenner. His image stands proud, facing right, with sharp, detailed features that reflect both respect and realism. Above his head, the words "In God We Trust" stretch across the rim. To the left, Liberty is struck boldly, and to the right, the date, 1957, sits just above the small D mint mark, indicating it was produced at the Denver Mint. The reverse side bears the words 1 cent and United States of America, framed by two wheat stalks, a design that gives the coin its nickname, the wheat penny. Now, while the U.S. Mint produced hundreds of millions of these coins in 1957, most were used, worn down, and eventually forgotten. But a tiny fraction were set aside, either by collectors, by accident, or simply by luck, and remained untouched by time. The coin that made headlines and found itself valued at a jaw-dropping price was in exceptional condition. What collectors refer to as a mint state coin. In this case, it was graded likely MS68 red by a top-tier grading authority like PCGS or NGC. The red designation means it still possessed more than 95% of its original fiery red mint luster, a striking characteristic that fades over time in circulated coins. Combine that with a grade of MS68, almost perfect, and you have a penny that is not just rare, but practically flawless in appearance. Coins at this level have razor-sharp details, mirror-like surfaces, and are almost entirely free of even microscopic blemishes. But pristine condition wasn't the only factor in its extraordinary value. What truly propelled this coin into the stratosphere was the presence of a rare mint error, something collectors are constantly hunting for. This particular 1957 D wheat penny was believed to feature a double die obverse, where the coin's design elements, such as the date, lettering, or Lincoln's profile, appear to have been stamped twice, slightly offset. This results in a stunning visual effect, with distinct doubling visible to the naked eye, especially around the numbers and letters. Errors like this are not only beautiful but incredibly rare, and when combined with high condition, they are worth a fortune. Other potential errors could also have boosted this coin's value. Off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, or even coins struck on the wrong metal blank. Each of these errors tells a unique story of how something went wrong during the minting process, something that should have been caught but wasn't. And it's precisely these rare mistakes that make such coins so desirable to collectors. The 1957 D penny also carries the weight of history. It was produced during the post-Korean War era, a time when the United States was booming economically and culturally. Elvis Presley was on the rise, families were buying their first televisions, and the American dream was alive and well. Pennies like this one jingled in the pockets of soldiers, school teachers, and factory workers alike. They paid for newspapers, gum, and rides on city buses. But this particular penny avoided all of that. It survived untouched, saved in its original brilliance for future generations to admire. And that's what makes coin collecting so magical. It's a hobby rooted in patience, knowledge, and a keen eye for detail. It invites you to look closer at the ordinary, to see the hidden stories etched into every curve and line. The next great discovery might not be buried in the ground or locked in a vault. It might be sitting in a jar, waiting in an old book, or tucked into a forgotten envelope. If you come across a 1957 D. Lincoln Wheat penny, take a moment before dismissing it as pocket change. Examine it carefully. Check for luster, sharpness, and any signs of doubling or striking errors. Use a magnifying glass to explore the details. Weigh it to confirm it's 3.11 grams. And if it looks promising, consider having it graded. Professional certification not only confirms authenticity, but can also multiply its value many times over. There are still discoveries waiting to be made. And as this incredible 1957 D penny proves, even a simple 1-cent coin, if preserved by time and touched by a rare error, can become a treasure worth more than most people ever dream. In the end, one flawless and rare 1957 D. Lincoln Wheat penny amazed the world when it sold for an incredible $225,000. And while most pennies may be worth just 1 cent, this one proves that sometimes the smallest things hold the greatest value. So keep looking, keep collecting, and never underestimate the hidden power of the humble penny.